Hi, this is Andrew Schoenberg for KSQD. The Interfaith Homeless Emergency Lodging Program, which is commonly known as iHelp, is a Monterey County nonprofit. They partner with over 60 local faith communities to provide support to people experiencing homelessness. Each night, iHelp provides a safe, temporary place to sleep for unhoused men and women, and they're fed a homemade dinner. To find out more, I'm speaking with Tom Chapman, board chair, and Marisa Kobylinski, who's in charge of communications. So, according to your website, you offer homeless men and women short-term lodging and evening meals on a nightly basis during their participation in your program. How does that work?
We vet all of our people to come into the program. Once they're accepted, they meet at the pickup point, and they are taken by bus to a participating church where they are fed a home-fed meal and offered a safe place to stay. And then they spend the night at the church, and they wake up in the morning, are given a grab-and-go breakfast, and they're delivered back to Monterey. The same thing happens for the women, and they're picked up in Monterey as well, and then transferred to a different church.
I would say that we also have one congregation, a synagogue, that's participating with us too as a host location.
How many sites offer lodging in a typical night?
There's 2 sites per night, one for the men and one for the women.
Okay. And so these sites are all located in Monterey or close to Monterey, or where?
The host sites range from Carmel Valley to Castroville, and they're all on the peninsula.
But all the people are picked up in Monterey, or?
That's correct. They're all picked up in Monterey.
Okay. How many nights can a client stay in one of your sleeping facilities?
We don't have a set time limit on that because it's emergency housing, so some emergencies last longer than others. And here on the peninsula, it's unrealistic to think that people can get a new place to live within 90 days or a month. It just takes a long time.
About how many clients are housed in a typical night?
I would say on average we have between 20 and 22 men and about 8 to 10 women per evening.
Okay. And I'm calling them clients. Is that what you call them, or what do you call them?
We call them clients. We call them participants.
The free evening meal, how does that work? Who provides the meals?
So the churches or the synagogues provide a meal, and it's typically by a church member or a synagogue member, but we do have some community service groups that provide the meals, and they'll bring the meals in for the men and women to participate in.
There are some hosts that host multiple times a month, so that's too much for them to also provide the meal. So almost all the Rotary clubs provide meals, plus some groups of friends or some other churches who cannot host because they don't have capacity. So it's the cast of thousands, really.
And I actually didn't ask you, when they sleep in the church or the synagogue, where do they sleep?
Usually it's a community room or a gymnasium. Each participant is provided a mat and a sleeping bag and a duffel bag, and all of their belongings are taken with them every night, and they're loaded off the bus and loaded back on the bus in the morning.
I would say that everything, the mats and the sleeping bag in the duffel are carried on the bus and kept on the bus. So they just have to cart around their personal items during the day.
And your organization provides personal advice and support in finding a job or going forward in other areas of life. That's what your website says. So tell us about that sort of support.
Well, we refer people to places that have case management, such as the Salvation Army for the men, or the women can go there. But the gathering is close to the pickup point for the women, so we recommend people go there.
Gathering for Women is a nonprofit organization that provides a walk-in center so homeless and at-risk women can access social services to address their short and long-term needs.
We ask questions about people too to try to help them figure out what to do, like how to get new phones, Social Security, how to apply for benefits or what they should try to apply for. But we leave the case management to other people because we found that at night when they come to us, nothing's open. Sometimes we don't have computers or Wi-Fi, and people are just too tired. If you are out from 7 a.m. to like 5 p.m. out and about without a place to rest, by the time you are done with dinner, you're ready to go to bed.
We have a monitor that stays with the participants every night, and they become more like a mentor to all of these participants. And generally our monitors have been graduates of the program, and so they have some very good advice to give to the participants to kind of help them get themselves straight and then move forward.
Do you have maybe 2 or 3 success stories that you can share with us related to people getting more together, getting jobs, becoming non-homeless, etc.?
I can think of one woman that we had in our program. She had lost her job during COVID, and she was trying to get her life together and was estranged from her family. We also were there when she had a stroke and had to go to the hospital. And we were there when she came back because we're the first person to call in the hospitals. And she was able, with our help, to sign up for some housing with the Carmel Foundation. And so she's got the housing with the Carmel Foundation, and now she's a part-time monitor for us for the women's program.
And what do monitors do?
Monitors are there to make sure that everybody plays nice and that the place that we stay as we're guests is better than when we arrived.
Okay.
And then they do give advice too, but sometimes that's a little bit harder than you think because we're unloading the bus and all these things, and everybody has chores, so they assign chores, small chores like taking out the trash, wiping the tables, doing the dishes, so that everything can be nicer than it was when we came. And getting up on time because everything has to be kind of timed because we only have bus drivers one time, Everybody has to get up and everybody has to get on the bus.
What time do they have to leave in the morning?
It's very early, yeah. A success story of one of our men. For 11 years, he was working and renting from a local dentist, but when the dentist died, the children raised the rent beyond his means and he needed a new place to live. At the same time, he had been working in restaurant because that was his family business for a long time, but when he got into health problems, he could no longer keep up the pace. And so then he didn't have a job. So no job, no place to live. So he was in a bad place. So he heard about iHelp, and he was able to find a meal every evening and a place to sleep. So he's looking forward to getting back to being healthy so he can have a sense of pride, get a new job, and a new place to live.
In case you've just tuned in, you're listening to KSQD, community radio for all of the Monterey Bay on 90.7, 89.7, and 89.5 FM, and streaming at ksqd.org. I'm Andrew Schoenberg, and my guests are Tom Chapman and Marisa Kobylinski, and we're talking about iHelp, which is a Monterey area nonprofit that provides services to homeless people, including temporary lodging and evening meals. Okay, do you have another success story?
One of the women in our program is a 3rd and 4th generation Californian on the Monterey Peninsula. For many years, she owned a business with her ex-husband and had 35 employees. But when her mother passed, the family was fractured and the relationships were broken. And then with her mother's death, she then got divorced from her husband, and started working as an independent contractor till she got injured at work. She lost her job and had no insurance. So her solution was to live in her car. Then she let a friend drive her car and they got a DUI, so her car was impounded. And because they couldn't pay the impound fee, she lost her home and doesn't have a job and was really despondent. So she found iHelp, and she hopes with iHelp to have enough patience to rebuild family connections and obtain a part-time job. We have a women's monitor who at one time was in part of our program, and she was there because she was planning to get married and live with her fiance till her fiance died. And the house was in his name, and so the family kicked her out. So she went to live with a friend, and the friend was fine for a while, but then got dementia. She did not feel safe living with her and called the family and said, I think she needs a different kind of care. And that's where she was living. So again, she did not have a place to live. So she heard about iHelp, and she stayed in iHelp for a while until she could get a new apartment. She's still in the new apartment, and she is a monitor for the iHelp women now.
Your website says that iHelp provides mentorship and advice to help individuals cultivate a positive mindset and personal growth. Is that something that your organization does yourselves, or it's just more like go talk to a social service organization?
Well, I think when most of the participants come to iHelp, they're very scattered and they're unfocused, and I think through the participants, the group of them kind of create a bond together, and they, the guys that have been there a little bit longer will help the younger participants out, and just really with the mindset that they're just trying to find some permanent housing. And so I think that dynamic of the group is kind of, the first generation's teaching the next generation's teaching the next generation, is very well is fostered within iHelp. And, having former participants as our monitors also provides experience for them to draw on.
I think another thing that we do is with assigning chores, it's something that somebody can be proud of and something that the monitor and other people can say thank you for. And that really helps develop a positive attitude that they can be proud of something.
People who go through your program, what percentage are able to make it on their own and be housed?
I would say on average, of the 30 or so participants, I would say that we average 4 to 5 that have a successful outcome where they'll get housing. So that puts us at 45 to 50 people a year that go through the program that are able to get housing. That's, we feel, a great success.
I would say that also some of the housing, one of the things that has been our big success is if we can reconnect them with their families, because that's some of the easiest housing to get. And so we really help and encourage them to communicate with families and see if they can reestablish some of those bonds.
I would assume there's a considerable benefit for the people that don't find housing or a job or something, because at least they have a place to stay for a while, right?
Oh, without a doubt, and a safe place to stay. Being on the streets is not safe. You're often feeling like you're just threatened in every way. And so this is that's one of the big draws to our program.
I would say another thing about the program is a lot of our people are not very healthy. And I hear this again and again as I talk to people and I interview them for our newsletter, is they really appreciate iHelp because it gives them a chance to get healthy. And that's if they have diabetes, if they've been through a health incident, that they really can't work until they're healthy. So, and whenever that happens. So we have a safe place, at least at night. They know that they have a meal and they have a place to stay. so they can work on those other things during the day.
So what do people who are unhoused and want to get into your program, what do they have to do to qualify?
Well, I'd say we have a fairly low threshold for qualifications. It's just whether or not the person's willing to accept a group living home. And that's easier for some and harder for others. They must be able to show up sober.
They have to be able to sleep on a mat is one of the health things. They have to be able to, get to the bathroom by themselves, and that kind of mobility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we accept anybody that's basically age 18 to 80. So it's a great program, and we really just try and help people with where they are, and to try and find them a solution or help them get a solution to find their way home.
As far as what we require from them, we require some way to contact them, like an email or a phone in case things change. We want to know where they were last evening, and we want to have a contact person if possible, and we want to know what medication they're on. Mm-hmm. Not that we would give it to them or anything, but just that's all. We don't ask for social security numbers and all this kind of many questions kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's very low threshold.
In case you've just tuned in, you're listening to KSQD, community radio for all of the Monterey Bay on 90.7, 89.7, and 89.5 FM, and streaming at ksqd.org. I'm Andrew Schoenberg, and my guests are Tom Chapman and Marisa Kobylinski, and we're talking about iHelp, which is a Monterey area nonprofit that provides services to homeless people, including temporary lodging and evening meals. And I think it's probably pretty obvious, but since you do this at churches or one synagogue, they don't have to be, subscribed to that religion or that spiritual path or whatever, right?
That's correct. Yeah, there's not a lot of religion involved, other than the fact that the people that provide the services to them have some sort of faith, and so those are the people that have really for 33 years stepped into being the first line of fire for these people to just try and help them out. And that's what most people want to do, but they just don't know how to do. So it provides a good opportunity, and we really have over 1,500 volunteers throughout the year that help provide these services. Uh-huh.
Two other things that we ask people or can't come into our program. One is if they have a pet. We just don't have any capacity for pets. And also if they have too much luggage. We're on one bus, so it's like 1 or 2 bags. We can't take a lot more.
What else would you like our audience to know about iHelp?
I would say we're the place of second chances. So we have several people who maybe for one night are not able to come in. Maybe they aren't sober. Maybe they're very agitated. But they can come back another time, a couple days or so, whatever they monitors decide, and try again. So it's not you're kicked out forever. It's you get another chance.
If an unhoused person wants to take advantages of your services, how do they do that? How do they get in touch with you?
I would say that they would just need to call the iHelp phone line, and that will get them in contact with one of our directors, either the women's or the men's directors, and that will start the ball rolling.
And what's the phone number?
The men's program, 831-205-3496. And for women, it's 831-393-5154.
If someone wants to volunteer to help with your work, how do they do that? The same numbers or something else?
They can call the general iHelp number, which is 831-251-8663, or contact us with our email, which is ihelpmontereybay@gmail.com. ihelpmontereybay@gmail.com. Both of those are on our website.
And what is your website?
ihelpmontereybay.org.
Okay, so IHELP MontereyBay.org, right?
Correct.
Are you in need of volunteers? I mean, if people would like to volunteer, I mean, is there a need for that?
We're always in need of volunteers, and we can connect them with our biggest areas of need at the time, that need shifts during the month. But we would always welcome volunteers and can connect them up with the local church or synagogue in order to serve.
The biggest need for volunteers is meals, or part of a meal,
In other words, preparing a meal or part of a meal.
or bringing a prepared dish. Yeah.
Yes, sure. Do you offer any training for people who are going to be volunteering?
No, I would just say just to have a heart to serve would be the number one thing. And then we will get you connected with a church that's been doing it for a while and hold your hand and be able to get you acquainted with iHelp. You do have the opportunity to speak with the participants, which is a great enlightening experience just to kind of share their experience and to help understand homelessness isn't an epidemic.
Yeah, you can talk to anybody about sports, nature, walking, the weather, dogs, your favorite thing to eat. There's just all kinds of things, and those are general with everybody. And that's the same with homeless people, too. They want to share things that they like.
So I think the idea is that homeless people are just like everybody else. They're not a special category where you wouldn't know how to talk to them, perhaps.
That's for sure. And they're just like us in every way. They've just had some rotten luck.
Great. All right. Well, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You've been listening to KSQD Santa Cruz, KSQT Prunedale, K-Squid, community radio for all of the Monterey Bay. I'm Andrew Schoenberg. Thanks very much for listening.